What is going on YouTube? All right, so, well, this is the funny thing. Number one is I'm assuming you guys really liked that thumbnail. So this is a really real concept. It's called decision fatigue, obviously willpower. I actually read, so there's Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal, which is a great video. And actually there was in Psychology Today, .com, there was another article that actually went against willpower, as in that we can replenish willpower. And I think Kelly talks about it in Willpower Instinct, which is kind of comes down to decision fatigue, and it also comes down to batching. So I talked about batching in my last video by Tim Ferriss, and Tim Ferriss was talking about how he batches things together. You obviously know CEOs that they wear the same clothes, they do the same thing, they eat the same food, they do all the same things every single day, so they don't so it actually reduces the amount of decisions that they need to make. And decision fatigue is actually the phenomenon where you make too many decisions, you get fatigued by those decisions, and then you start making bad decisions, okay? That's essentially what the entire conclusion is. By the afternoon, you go for that 1 or 2 p.m. coffee, you go for that pick-me-up at 3 p.m., that sugar boost or whatever, that insulin boost that you need going throughout your bloodstream, even though you don't actually need that. What's going on, Chris? How we doing, sir? So this is a very real concept, okay? It is 1:15 a.m., 1:15 p.m., and I'm feeling great right now. I have a lot of work that I need to do. It's a Friday, so you're already considering the amount of people that are probably checked out for the weekend, all right? But these next 4 or 5 hours are critical each single Friday. Each single Friday, which leads into a Monday, which leads into the Tuesday and everything else. So you have decision fatigue, which I just talked about. This is why batching is essentially saying, this is where I put my gym stuff when I'm going to the gym. This is what I'm gonna wear, and you don't make that decision in the morning when you're fresh and ready to go. You make that decision the night before, okay? You understand that you're gonna get the same food, because if you're making that decision on what food do I get, where am I gonna sit, what am I gonna read, what am I gonna watch, all these what ifs, all these decisions you're making are draining your willpower. What's going on, Erwin? They're draining your ability to actually understand that you have to reserve all of your energy, your cognitive abilities for the tough decisions, making that sales call, going to the gym, to fight the lizard brain, as Seth Godin says. So decision fatigue ties directly in what I talked about, which was batching. So how am I batching? Okay, I go to the exact same salad place every single day. And it doesn't get boring, because listen, I understand. It's kind of hard, because if I heard that when I was younger, or I wasn't in the self-development or whatever, I would think that person's crazy, it gets boring, don't you blah, blah, blah. Listen, there's enough flavors in there, which is good. And there's also just enough variety every single day. There's so much variety in my day that I don't care what I'm eating. There's so much variety as in phone calls and problems and solutions and sales calls and closing business and things, that I don't care what my food variety is. That's another thing that I just thought of, is if your food variety is one of the biggest things that you need to mix up every single day, your days are boring. Your days are boring. Okay? I go and I do the same thing every single Monday at the gym. I go to the same class. Every single Tuesday, I go to the same exact class. Keep everything automated, exactly. Because when the really hard decision to do something you don't want to do, you don't want to actually say no to that, okay? When you're making all these stupid decisions, should I go to this place, should I go to that place? What time do I wake up? What do I wear? What do I post on social media? How do I answer this email? All those decisions are draining your right now 2 p.m. decisions. Do I answer emails, or do I keep on going after business? Do I create content, which is hard and creative, or do I sit back and watch YouTube videos? And I'm not saying that about this, but this is something that you have to literally compartmentalize. How long did it take you to use salads after not, how long did it take you to get used to salads after not eating salads? Well, actually, it's the opposite. How did I get used to eating salads after not? Actually, no, that's exactly the question you asked. Oh man, you know what it was? I started looking at a lot of people that I didn't want to be, and I just said, what did this person start batching time? Start batching exactly. Start batching things within your time. The exact same task happens for me at 5 a.m. The exact same thing happens at 5:15, 5:30, 5:45. I don't want any variety there. But once I go to 6 and 7, it starts to get, okay, I'm riding a bike. There's more input coming in, okay? This is the thing. There's something called a deprivation tank, okay? You guys have probably already heard about it, where you sit in this solution. There is no noise. There is no light. You're essentially floating, and you're on your back, and you're in this deprivation tank. There is no input. Your body is not taking in any input. And actually, if that's extended periods of time where there's no social interactions, where they've had it on Alcatraz and where they've had it in prisons where you're by yourself, is that it deteriorates the brain so much so that you start visualizing insane things. Okay, that's not good because that's an extended period of time. If we're talking about just 45 minutes to an hour, that is enough to replenish your brain because there is so much input coming in. There's input of how you're walking, opening a door, me talking, understanding how many people are watching, what's the time frame, what do I need to do? That's all input, okay? Input is things that drain your energy. Input is what decisions do I make, okay? What do I say to this person? How do I answer? Those are all inputs, okay? Outputs is where you're essentially understanding that things need to get done, and when you start getting that done, going to the gym or making sales calls or proactively going after business, that is moving forward, okay? That's where you get your confidence because you're essentially moving forward. No one's asking for your input. No one's asking for your reply in an email or your reply on a decision, okay? Goggins coming out with a book. It's gonna be fucking amazing, okay? There's a lot of really good books that are being produced right now. I think there's a complete revelation and shift in society for the top 10%. I felt like knowledge was only reserved for really the wealthy back in the day, and there was, education and books and everything else because books were so expensive. And then as Peter Diamandis has talked about, it's been dematerialized, democratized, and obviously money-wise, monetization on an audiobook, $14, you learn from someone that's been doing something for 30, 40, 50 years. That's insane. Jocko Willink, David Goggins. These guys are just slaying the mindset. And for me to pay $14 and have something that is inside his brain, it's incredible. So Robert Greene also, I cannot wait for that. I actually heard about that. I didn't know if it was true. I didn't look it up. But for you to get used to something, there needs to be, and you've already heard about the why, obviously from Simon Sinek, and a ton of other people have joined that board. The why is totally different on food. So food is, I looked at someone, I'll give you an example. I was on the subway today and a family gets on at 34th Street. You can always tell, who in life is giving and receiving based on the way they actually enter the subway. Okay, if they literally don't care if you exit the subway before they enter, you're thinking they just want to take they want to take theirs, okay? They want to take their seat. They want to get to their seat. They don't care if you're exiting. Listen, the train is going nowhere. But that's just, it's a great observation for human nature, as, obviously Robert Greene is going to be talking about, which is these things are innate. Okay, this is hardwired for thousands of years, where it's literally just two things: survival and replicate. And then from there, you branch out. Survival is obviously food, water, shelter, keeping warm and healthy. Okay, replicating, that is how am I successfully? How do I look? How do I present myself? What's my education level? What's my income level? It obviously branches out from there. So going back to the why is, I looked at someone who was getting on the subway. It was a family. The guy was in all right shape. He was probably early 40s, mid 40s, right around there. The woman, and then two really fun, outgoing, smiling kids. The kids get on, they sit down, and it's probably 4 and 6 years old. A guy and a girl, or a boy and a girl, and they sit down, and the girl goes, "Thank you," with a nice smile. It was really nice. And then the woman gets on, the wife, and I'm like, oh my God, she's eating an ice cream, and you could tell she's just so overweight. She's like panting. And I look at that, and I say it's an unfortunate situation because the kids are not going to grow up with a mom that's going to be fun, outgoing, and everything else. Because before personal development, I'll be like, oh my God, that woman's fat. Now, post-personal development, I say that sugar is affecting her brain in the fact of not being able to actually concentrate. Did you catch? Yeah, unbelievable. Actually, you know what's funny? Look at this. Here's my computer. And actually, the other one that I have up while I was eating lunch this was also a really good video. That's Bob Proctor's newest repetition, which actually I didn't watch yet. But based on the likes and comments and the length of it, 19 minutes, he's going to be dropping some knowledge, to say the least. So highly recommend not only batching your time, but finding out the why. Let me just go back to that, because when you have sugar, it scrambles your mind. Okay, when you have sugar, it obviously leads to cancer. It feeds cancer, okay? That is scientifically just the worst thing that you could be having. So my why was not really, yes, it was cancer, but I'm so young that it was hard to process, number one. Number two is anyone coming back and forth? Getting, obviously, willpower and brain power, but then I just saw the energy level of these parents that were eating like shit, okay? I would say one of the biggest things is you have to find a why on waking up early. Once you have that why of waking up early, you have that why of making sales calls or keeping in shape or being in shape or in the enthusiasm or the energy, and each one is completely different. Me eating well is for, I don't want to have pain in the future. Pain, there's this woman, I was dropping off my laundry this morning, and this woman was walking out, and she was probably in her 80s by herself, and I'm thinking in my mind, she doesn't have enough money probably to care for herself in the future, or someone else to care for her, number one. Number two is, you can tell that she's just she's moving so slow. This was her big thing for the day, was going and dropping off laundry and or picking it up. And that was her big thing. And we will get to that age. We will get to that age. There was a great interview by TJ Oshie yesterday. The Capitals won the Stanley Cup, and he was talking about his dad. Highly recommend you go check this interview out. And he talks about his dad. His dad obviously has Alzheimer's, not obviously, but based on it, you can tell that his dad has Alzheimer's, and he gets really emotional talking about his dad. And there's things to at least not eliminate, but to maybe push back or to make it a little bit easier that when dementia and Alzheimer's occurs, that you're prepared. That comes down to diet. That comes down to doing different circumstances, maybe learning a language, learning a new instrument, keeping yourself stimulated, okay? Because once you stop working, we've already talked about it, blah, blah, blah. That's why Bob Proctor looks so young. The guy's 80-something. He looks terrible in that image. There you go. Maybe there's no glare on it. I have the flux thing going on, so it has that orange tint because it's for my eyes and whatever. But do you think having the why is the most effective method, though, requires you to consciously think better? Yeah, I think it gets to the point where the why, there's two whys. The why is where nothing major happens, and then the why, which something major happens. Okay, something major happens, just want to make sure it's connected to Wi-Fi. So the major why, nothing major happened, but I looked at people like my friend's father who had a heart attack at 62, 63 years old, and his son, I've already talked about it, his son is a doctor, and his son was actually, thank God, was in the house and noticed, my dad's having a doctor, rushed him to the hospital, saved his life, everything else. That was that's a major catastrophe. His why is to be there when his kids get married. His why is now his grandkids. His why is so deep, something really major had to happen, okay? I don't want to get to that point. So my why now is, I don't want to get to that point health-wise. I don't want to get to that point wealth-wise. I don't want to get to that point where relationships are deteriorating, or I didn't spend enough time, or I'm 40 years old and it's really hard to start and to eliminate habits at that point. The only time you could really eliminate habits of, say, eating like shit or whatever, like this woman that was entering the subway, is something happened to her. You have type 2 diabetes, or you have a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. That's major, okay? I didn't read the entire comment, but there needs to be something, because there are, I would say 40% of the time, I don't want to do what I need to do, okay? I don't want to do what I need to do. That was perfectly said, is that 40% of the time, I don't, and you hear that from everyone. You hear it from Jocko. He talks about it in his motivational videos all the time. He's like, it's Monday. I don't want to wake up, blah, 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 and he goes like that, and he gets into it. David Goggins talked about it in his motivational video. He's like, it's fucking hot as hell. He's running in Vegas, for God knows, just to push himself, okay? Because he knows mental fatigue or actually getting, not mental fatigue, but actually lessening your mental capabilities. In other words, strengthening your mental capabilities is the priority, is pushing yourself, challenge yourself. You know, on Monday, I'm gonna have an Instagram post, and it's gonna be Les Brown's quote, and obviously, what's his name, David Goggins, he said, do something every single day that sucks. That sucks. You know, the rest of common isn't more effective to plant in subconscious mind, so you have to consciously be reminding yourself of why. You know, you need, you know what's funny? That's actually a good comment, which is starting out, the why is the most important thing. That's the most important thing by far. Your why is the most important thing. And then after that, the habit takes over. And then I don't even think about going to the gym. I don't even think about waking up early. I don't even think about, you know, where am I gonna put my gym clothes or what am I gonna wear? Because it's just, it's literally habitual. I come home, I unpack my gym bag, I put in headphones, I start listening either to an audiobook, a podcast, a YouTube video or whatever. So I'm putting things away and getting things together. My why in the beginning, when I first started doing that was I need to batch things or I don't wanna make decisions. I don't even think about my why anymore. That's the ironic thing is, you know, you get to the point where that's actually a really interesting, I never even thought of that, is that you get to a point where in the beginning there is a why. And then after a time you say, this is a habit. This is who I am. It's part of your identity. And then when someone says, what's your why? You actually have to think about it. You know, it was my kids or something like that. You know, people say that. You know, I've never wanted to go back to being dirt poor, as Jerry Jones talks about, the owner of the Cowboys, you know, on a 60 Minutes interview, is that the why turns into habits. It turns into your identity on who you are. Okay, that's the ultimate goal. But most people see, this is who I am, like David Goggins. No. He started that 15, 20, 30 years ago. You know, he was in the SEALs 15 years ago, okay? So I'll just leave you with this, is that, you know, I'm always looking at ways to expand. You know, I have you cemented in your paradigm so it frees up the conscious. Exactly, yeah, that's really what it is. I want all of my decision abilities to be on the challenging parts of my life, not the easy parts. The easy parts, who gives a shit, you know, what I wear? Like, honestly, just wear a suit and tie, okay? People spend hours on that. You know, thank God I'm a guy, because to be honest, putting on the makeup, you know, the dress and the skirt and the heels and whatever, thank God I'm a guy, okay? Because there's way too many more decisions for a girl. It's probably unbelievable. But yes, exactly. You want to be able to free up all the conscious ability to make the tough decisions when you need to make those tough decisions, when you don't want to make those tough decisions, which is sales calls, going for business. What do I eat? No, I go to the same place, I order the same thing. I'll leave you with this. I went down on Wednesday to the administrative office here at my building, and I said, hey, listen, are there any 4 persons? Because I'm in a kind of a small place and I'm kind of loud and it bounces around and, you know, it's just not the best place. And they said, there actually is, and here's the price. And I'm negotiating with them back and forth, and I was thinking about it, and I actually weighed it out. And the amount of money, this is everything. It's not money, it's the value. So I'm potentially going to be moving to a bigger office, because when it comes available, I'm expecting to have at least 1 or 2 more agents, okay? And at that point, I'm living into the future. That's really what it comes down to. I'm living into the future of expansion. So the expansion is a bigger office. I have to live into that by either filling the desks or getting enough business that I'm like, okay, you know, what do I do now? Okay, what's his name? I forgot where I heard it, but he always said where was it Valuetainment or Grant Cardone? I don't know. I think it was Valuetainment, where he said he just expanded. I heard it from Jeff Bezos multiple times. He just expanded. He just said yes, and then he lived into it, and then that's your new reality. You know, how much is the office space at Hudson Yards? That's actually a good question, because I should know. Not I should know because I'm in real estate, but I should know for at least a goal. That's a full office would probably be, I don't know, 100,000 a month, maybe, probably. It would be up there, but by that time, I want to have multiple divisions. I want to have a real estate investment trust. I want to have a media division. I want to have a new development division. I also want to be producing content with the media division. And then obviously the residential, commercial, things like that. But it starts every single day with the batching. It starts every single day with the sales calls. And this, that's the thing that also forces you to learn how to manage agents, because you're getting the bigger space. Yeah, exactly. And that was the tough thing, is I wasn't good at that. You know, I wasn't good, and it wasn't their fault. You know, that was the thing, is that I made mistakes, and there's no hard feelings either way. They didn't hate it, or they didn't hate me, and I didn't hate them or dislike or whatever word you want to use. But you go through that. You need to print a photo of the building and office space that you have. So in the new book right here, this is a great book. Dr. Joe Dispenza. So this is the one I was talking about. You know, I'm about halfway done. I actually understand how slow I read. God, it's embarrassing. But by the way, I ordered the Tom Brady also, so that's awesome. Tom Brady book. But in here, it essentially talks about living into the future with feelings and emotions of actually having what you want. So in other words, when I meditate and I just blank everything out for the first 5 or 6, 7, 8 minutes. I have no idea. I'm not judging myself. And then the next 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes or whatever amount of time, again, not judging myself, is I'm actually thinking that I'm entering the space and I'm actually there. You know, I emotionally feel things. I smell the carpet. I smell the environment. I talk to the people, and I interact in my mind that I'm actually there. And that's what Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about, is that's everything. Is that you're and obviously Bob Proctor talks about it, but Bob Proctor and Jack Canfield, they don't really talk about it in the way that Dr. Joe Dispenza talks about it. You know, they say, you know, as if, you know, live as if, you know, live as if you're a millionaire, live as, you know, like reality right now. But Dr. Joe Dispenza actually breaks down the science of how to do it, or why it works, how to do it, and it actually retraining and neurologically how it actually recalibrates your brain. Your brain, this is the biggest thing. It's even deeper than visualization. It's actually being there, that you're there. It's like you're dreaming in your meditation. And then I wake up from that now, not wake up, but you know, I open my eyes and I'm like, wow, it's a total difference. I'm actually going to hopefully his Toronto retreat. That's going to be in September, and that's a week-long retreat, and I actually cannot wait, because I feel that is going to be the missing link in my morning routine. I journal really well. I really like it. My affirmations are really good, but my visualizations, that's something that I really want to work on. Dr. Joe Dispenza is doing a Toronto, I think it's the first for something, back to decisions. How do you learn to trust your decisions? I always go with my gut. You know, it's really funny. Someone came to me, they shot me a message on Instagram. I'm actually getting a lot more Instagram messages. You know, people that, you know, I just posted another one, you know, that they just found me and whatever. And obviously, yes, Chris, I actually heeded your advice on batching together the videos and producing it. So I'm not going to be going live as much, maybe once a week, as you said, as you recommended. And then the others are going to have better thumbnails and obviously on the higher quality camera. That's a freaking $5,500, $6,000 camera and lens. The lens is unbelievable though. So anyway, going back into that, trusting your decision, I always go with my gut. So someone said, you know, how do I choose the right real estate company? You know, should I do Keller Williams? Should I do Coldwell Banker? Should I do Berkshire Hathaway's? You know, things like that. I said, number one is go for training and never go for compensation. Okay, so when you go for compensation, when you go for money, that's the reason you joined, and that's the reason you're going to leave. Okay, that's very interesting. That's the reason you joined the company. It wasn't the vision or what they're doing or the manager or the environment or the training or anything like that. It was because of the money. Okay, you can easily replace the money, and that's the thing, is that you get what you receive. So if one company is giving you more money, they're not giving you training or a good environment or the services that a better company will. Okay, yes, there's companies that it's about the brand and everything like that, but I told him, I said, go with your gut. And I'll just give you this example. So in 2012, when I was between Halstead Property and Platinum Properties, it was Town Residential in Halstead Property. Town Residential, ironically enough, is out of business now. And Town Residential, you know, they had more of like a fraternity type of feel. It wasn't as classy as Halstead Property. Halstead Property has been around. They have great leadership, great manager, everything else. And my girlfriend at the time, I already told you the story. My girlfriend at the time said, do you want to work for a professional company or a place that you're just going to not be held to the highest standards? And I was like, wow. And that's the gut feeling, which is, what do you want? Do you want that? What do you want in life? Do you want to not be held to the highest standards? You know, or do you want to go to a place that you're going to have to be pushing yourself? So essentially, obviously took Halstead Property. It was a great idea. And obviously from there, the manager said, you know, no blog, no video, no personal branding, no logos and things like that. And then I said, you know what, I could do this on my own. made all the mistakes in the world. That's going to be a complete book. And then, now you just learn and you get better. And now I know exactly what to do every single day to get business. And on top of that, if you're also doing personal development, you're learning how to negotiate, how to sell, how to market, how to get better, how to be more confident, how to be more enthusiastic, energetic, healthy, all those things that you just layer on top of just learning how to do the business, and you're unstoppable. I really truly don't see someone that's really into personal development. Maybe Josh Rubin, who's he's at Element and he's doing really well. He's probably doing 350 million in business. He's got 30 maybe. There's a lot of people that are really good at what they're doing, but they're really not good at scaling. That's the thing, is they're still the one that's actually bringing in the business. I want to be the person that has someone underneath me that manages the people that bring in the business. So in other words, you have the agents, then you have the sales manager, and then you have me. Okay, if I'm the one that brings in the business because I'm making all the calls and I'm doing all the mailings and I'm doing all the listing appointments, you're not scaling. Okay, you're not building it to sell, as one of my last Instagram posts was you have to build it to scale. You have to build out the systems, you have to build out the checklist every single time. That's the thing, is that when I get a listing, I don't want to think, what do I do? Do I shoot the video? Do I put it on Facebook? Do I put it on Instagram? What's the captions? What's the description? Where do I link it? Do I send out a newsletter? When do I put it in the MLS? I don't want to think of that. I have a 50-thing checklist. I'm like, okay, I did that, I did that, I did that. So do you see that? Where I'm not taking the energy out of my brain. I'm actually saying, I would rather do, okay, I do that, than what do I do now? Okay? So decision making is really, what decision to make. It really comes down to two things. One is fear, or that it's really hard if you have a decision that you don't know if you have something and you don't know what decision to make. You could either go back to the Benjamin Franklin method of just listing the pros and cons, or you just choose one. And just as it says in Think and Grow Rich, is that you stick with it. It's the same thing with a marketing plan, is you have to stick with a marketing plan for 6 to 9 months. People pump money, as Gary talks about, into social media, and they're like, oh, I put $1,000 in, or $500, or I ran an ad for a week and my business didn't explode. And yeah, it's the same thing with any marketing campaign. If you do mailers, if you do content, if you do anything, I'm starting to reach out to content contributors for our blog that we're building out, the website. So I'd say you have to go with your gut. If it's a really high overarching, I start asking people. That's when I started asking people. So starting my own company, I went to my top clients. I took them all out to lunch. I said, did you work with me, or did you work with me because of me, or do you work with me because I was at Halstead Property? And Halstead Property is obviously, professional agency. So obviously that's a big decision, starting your own company. And actually I was meeting with someone before, they're a social media brand here, and they just came out with a Dunkin' Donuts ad on the 4th. So it was 4 days ago, and it's already done 10 million. So it's a viral company. They're based in the UK. They have 150 employees. The guy literally was disclosing everything. I'm talking with the co-founder, hopefully in about an hour, and of the company, which would be an amazing, opportunity. Obviously the pricing is pretty expensive. Dunkin' Donuts so they guarantee a certain amount of, whatever. But he was talking about that he sends out 3 types of ads, and then he checks the engagement. Which ad got. And they have this thing called dark post in Facebook and blah, blah. So in other words, it's a test it. Test this way to talk to someone, test this way to answer an email, test this way on a reply if you're making sales calls, just test it. If it's a big decision, you have to go to people and find out, I go to people that are more successful and or already did it before. That's really what it comes down to. I asked a lot of people when I was actually starting my own company, big brokers, and they all said, no, I would never start my own company. And I always asked them why, because I asked Sirhan and I asked Brian Lewis. Brian Lewis is probably going to do $225 million of business, and that's probably 2.5 to 3 million in commissions. It's a lot of money. And obviously Sirhan's probably going to do 15 to 20 million in commissions, maybe even more. And for him, Sirhan is like, I'm getting all the services I want. And then on his recent live stream, he said he's going to be. Someone asked, why don't you start your own company? He goes, check back with me, things like that. Yeah, it's like A/B testing. They do it obviously in newsletters. They find out what's good. Those are for the minor decisions. For the major ones, you want to go to people, and then go with your gut. Which company do I choose? Which job do I choose? I went to my girlfriend. I talked it over with her, because as you talk about it, you actually also understand. You start steering yourself in the conversation in the direction you want. And that's funny, because there's a lot of questions that Gary Vaynerchuk gets, and he's just like, he goes, you answered the question already. You answered the question. You already know the answer. And as you ask the question, you're like, oh, actually you're right. But when you're thinking about it, it's really hard. But once you start putting it on paper, you start asking about it, you banter with someone, then it really becomes clear. So I highly recommend you talk to a bunch of people. Anyway, so I was on a roll, kind of blacked out. I have no idea what I talked about. Maybe it's about the title of this video, which was decision fatigue. I have no idea. If it's not, whatever. But I highly recommend that you batch things together. Right now, I'm going to batch my social media together for all of next week. I'm gonna put out what I'm gonna go live on BPI. I'm gonna batch out the thumbnails and the topics and everything else, and obviously for personal development here on YouTube. So I actually get people that watch this video, and then that goes into speaking engagements, which then goes into my videographer joining me, and then that goes into keynotes, and then that goes into awareness, that goes into bigger keynotes, that goes into awareness, which goes into maybe getting paid to do it. It's like step by step, I'm actually blessed that I'm in this office right now doing this, because then, like Gary said, you didn't see me not hustling, say 10, 15 years ago. He started maybe 4 or 5 years ago to really, truly document his journey. But people already saw him with a 125 person company. Now it's obviously higher, and his revenue is a lot higher. But at that time, I remember looking at this guy and the real estate channel. Yeah. And, what I'm super excited about is say this year, there's a couple things, if I really truly implement it, with content and what I really want to do, there's 3 things that I really, really want to do, which is a better onboarding experience for new agents. Number 1. Number 2 is better content. And number 3 is, I would say the website. The website would be a game changer, because I'm reaching out to a couple people. Like my sister, she has a ridiculous amount of travel experience. There's one of my clients, she has a ton of followers, and she does sweets. I'm not gonna be there eating the sweets, because she does it. And then there's someone else that does a food blog, so they would do the food. There's someone else that does restaurant reviews, so I want to be kind of the go-to, because I noticed, so talking about decisions, so this was a big decision. He did a video, Time Last Days of the Wine Library, talking about patience, which was cool. Yeah. Dude, you look at him then, you look at him now, and he talks about it, and you could see he had a hockey stick moment the last 18 months. And that's the thing, is out in Hudson Yards, there's people that are waiting out there probably once a week. So that's the thing, is that what I'm glad is that I'm not an entertainer. I've been really thinking about this. An entertainer is like Casey Neistat, The Rock, people that entertain, escapism. Okay, when I talk about what I'm talking about now, it takes critical thinking to understand what I'm talking about, because you first have to agree or disagree with what I'm saying. Then you also have to say, how does this apply with my life? And then you have to say, do I want to take action on this? Those are things that most people don't want to think about. They look forward to the weekend, they look forward to the evenings, and then guess what? You're 40 years old, you're fat or overweight, or your dreams are outside the door, and it's just, I'm gonna make a video on the cell phone. Dude, the cell phone is gonna ruin probably more girls over guys' lives, because I see more girls obsessed with listening to music and social media. And they are, why? Because women have an innate ability on human connection. Guys, we use it more as a tool. Okay, yes, we get addicted and everything else, but we're not getting addicted because we don't care about the drama. It's just how we're hardwired. Okay, a lot of people have so this is it. You have the hard wiring, and then you have the social construct on top. So the social construct on top is that, you know, male and female are the same. No, we're not, okay? We are completely different, and you have to respect that, okay? You have to also nurture that. You also have to go to your strengths, okay? I am not gonna be one to, and this has nothing to do with gender, but I'm not gonna be one that goes back to school. That's not my strength, okay? We should not have what society tells us what we should be doing. We should go with what we want to do and or good at, you know, which hopefully is one in the same. You know, that's on that. But what I can tell you with, I don't even know what I was just talking about. But yeah, I would say decisions need to be made based on how you feel. That's really what it comes down to. There's too many times, there's too many people I know that are doing things that they fucking hate. They hate their job. They don't like their spouse. They wish they didn't have kids, which sounds bad, but they were told this is what is not required, but this is what people do. This is what society does. And then they go with that, and because that's what they were told. This is what you do at this age. And then, you know, it's like older people when they get stiff and they talk like this, and I'm not saying be immature, but I'm also saying have fun, you know, have fun. Like that guy in the last talking about moving out with his parents. Yeah, exactly. You know, you know, you know, life is really going to come down to one single thing, and it actually was portrayed either, I don't think it was in Deep Work, it was in another book. I forgot the name of the book. I think it was a book called Addicted or something, right around there. And it was just a picture of a cell phone on the front, and it was light coming out, and it was just showing why. And actually what's funny is that Apple's coming out with parental and other controls where you can limit the amount of screen time, the amount of app time. You could also see a history of the apps and the amount of time that you pick up your phone. And they had an interview with Tim Cook on MSNBC, and he was talking about it. He's like, I was shocked at how much I used my phone. I thought it was really good. So a guy who's conscious of how addictive, so that's the thing, is that the phone was really good. The device was really good. The apps are the ones that are addictive. The dating apps or email or, you know, social media, those are the addictive things. And the person that is able to actually put their phone away and or go into deep work are going to be the winners. Hands down, those will be the winners. I put my phone on airplane mode in my drawer, so I don't even see it. It's not even in my field of vision. And those are going to be the true winners. So I highly recommend those are and it's not your decision fatigue. Imagine that you look at your phone and you think, okay, what am I going to do? How do I stimulate myself? How do I get the escapism right now? And then you start going through all the apps. You're draining your energy, your willpower. You're using all of your energy towards something else. You know, I'm actually getting more energy giving right now for the last 37 minutes and 38 seconds than at any other time today. You know, that's crazy. That's crazy. It's 9 minutes before 2 p.m. There's people that are exhausted. They have 3 hours of work left, and they hate it. They're gonna waste 3 hours on social media and everything else. You wanna be the person that doesn't do that. And the only way to do that is if you don't have decision fatigue, if you do the batching of decisions and time blocks and deep work and put your phone away. That's the only way. Those are the only winners. Those are the only winners. And to be honest, it's only gonna get worse, you know? Only gonna get worse because people don't have self-control. They need to implement the self-control, and the only way to do a self-control implementation is have your why. The why turns into your habit, who turns into your identity, and then you say, this is who I am. I don't have notifications on my phone. I don't answer email before 9 p.m. or 9 a.m. And there was actually a guy, we were trying to show an apartment tomorrow, and the guy said, I don't work on Saturdays. I'm like, yeah, but they are doing a second showing. It's worth $1.1 million, and the parents are in town from San Francisco, and the guy said, I don't do showings on Saturday. He made it that's who he is. I have one day off. And I respected that because I looked at it and I said, holy shit, you're right. You're right. One day off. Just take one day off. That's who he is. In the beginning, his why was maybe his kids, maybe his wife, maybe his health, maybe his escapism, whatever. I have no idea. But that was his why that turned into a habit, and now this is what it is. That's a perfect example, okay? We need to be putting up more boundaries. There's a great book out there called Boundaries. Highly recommend you check it out. I read it probably about 6-7 years ago. If I reread it now, I would be in a totally different state, just like maybe resilient, maybe, not really, resilience. Anyway, enjoy your weekend, 1:53 p.m. And obviously subscribe, leave your comments below. We're definitely gonna be changing around, obviously. So you A/B test it. You A/B test it. You say, okay, when I went live, there was a lot of subscribers coming aboard. And then you didn't go live and not as many subscribers, So obviously that's the algorithms. That's also, how are you feeling, Charles? Are you energetic? Are you not energetic? Is it cutting into, you test it out and you don't kick yourself around, I didn't go to the gym today, I'm not kicking myself because I came into work, I did everything I needed to do. I got a salad, so that wiped out the drinking from last night. The Capitals won. It was the first time I went out in, 3-4 weeks, maybe a month and a half. I don't even know. It was a while. So it was like, I don't beat myself up. I went into work and I'm like, okay, it happened. A lot of people would say, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't believe it. And tomorrow, well, if I have an appointment, then I can't go for the bike ride, but I'm hopefully going to go for a bike ride before I go to the Belmont Stakes. And I'm going to the Belmont Stakes. I'm planning out because I'm going to probably eat terribly. I'm going to be drinking heavily. And then on Sunday, I have open houses and everything else. So that's when I recover, okay? That's when I recover. I'm already planning, this is the food I'm going to eat on Sunday. I'm going to go to the gym next week. And it's like, that's the why. The easy way is for me to come in and be like, well, I drank last night. I can eat like shit today. I'm going to eat like shit tomorrow. No, it's like, you need to recover and get back to normalcy. I know that if I go 2 days, that's not good. If I go 1 day, that's fine. I can easily recover from that, easily. Tomorrow, that's the thing is that because it feels weird now if I don't do it. That's the point you want to get, is you want it to feel weird. You don't go to the gym, or you don't eat healthy, or you don't make sales calls, or you don't approach that pretty girl, or you send that email, or you're action oriented. You want it to feel, you're like, this isn't me. And what's his name actually says that, who was it? That's just like me. Brian Johnson talks about that. He says, when you do something that you really want to reward yourself on, he says, always go in and just say, that's like me. That's me. That's just like me. You go to the gym, that's just like me. And then you start getting the identity. This is who I am. All right? So have an awesome weekend. If you guys have any questions, leave it in the comments below. Subscribe to the video. If this is the first time, this is actually going up on SoundCloud now. So hopefully there's more podcast downloads. I don't even know. Some people are saying that they would rather listen to me. Have you thought about eating more than only twice no, I eat 3 times a day. I eat, so in the morning I have oatmeal with almonds and walnuts. Now there's granola to give back the calories that I lost. Then I do Mexicali vegan without jalapenos, and I add in chickpeas. Chickpeas have the calories that I need, and it's natural. It also has the fiber I need, and then I add in red peppers, and I do that twice. I also do the inside part of bread. I'm trying to eliminate that, but I also noticed that it gives me a little bit of energy because I do burn a lot more calories than most people because I'm running around. I'm trying to think what is a good substitute, because I went into the gluten-free oats, and I just put in almond water, and almond milk, and then you just have like a little bit of oats. And I noticed that it was just too much. It was fattening me up, and it was just too much food. So I do the inside part of the bread. I know it has gluten, and then I do the kombucha, which is right here. I freaking love this stuff now. I'm like obsessed with it. So I'm trying it out, but I'm like 90 to 95% like on point with all of the thing. Twice, but eat more at the meal times, more effective health. That's actually a smart. The health. There's an interview on Tom Bilyeu's channel, Impact Theory, talking about that, and I would say, yeah, I want to talk about, or at least learn about it, because in there it says Fasting 101. It's in my Watch Later videos. I haven't watched it later. But the time-wise, that's actually very interesting because obviously, what's his name has talked about it. Elon Musk, he goes, I wish eating didn't take a half an hour. You know, by the time it gets there or is given to him, you know, he gets up and he gets water and whatever. He goes, I wish it didn't even take a half an hour. So time consuming, I 100% agree. You know, the breakfast is super easy. I think lunch is the one that really is the time consuming one. That's the one that I really want to take it down. Yeah, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. That's actually a good point. I might, because I definitely need it at 11. I definitely need it at 11. Right between 11 and 11:30, I start zoning out because of just, you know, decision fatigue and things that I was doing. So it's to refresh my mind. It's also to put nutrients in my body. 5 p.m. Yeah. I don't know what else I would add into that though. That's the thing, is like how much more food would I know obviously your body gets used to it. I know that. So, all right. So I'm going to hop out. Hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I'm going to go live obviously next week and definitely produce a lot more content. Enjoy your weekend. Talk to you guys soon.